Do you think I can star in Hollywood movies if I'm AI generated?
Literally no one wants that to happen. That's me and aspiring AI actor Tilly Norwood, or as I like to call her, Tilly Vanilli. If you haven't heard, Tilly Norwood is an AI-generated character who is supposed to be the next Natalie Portman or Scarlett Johansson, at least according to the creators. Hollywood should not be making movies with AI actors. That's for people like me who make movies on our laptops in our kitchens by ourselves. So Hollywood, stay out of AI, please, and leave it to the amateurs. Stay out of it. So there's been a huge amount of backlash around this. And regardless of what Hollywood does with AI in the future, one thing is for sure, Tilly is not going to be in any Hollywood movies. I thought it might be fun if we put her in AI movies.
I feel like I did something wrong.
I like you, Tilly, but you don't need Hollywood. We are the future of film.
So I'm going to show you a couple ways that we can do that. In order to do that, we're going to need to do a couple things. One is to get a few reference photos of Tilly. So I just looked up Tilly Norwood. There's some pictures of her on here. So I downloaded some of those. I'm going to put her in The Last of Us with me. So I'm going to be Joel. She's going to be Ellie. That seems like the right relationship for our age difference. We're going to try this 3 different ways, and I'm going to save my favorite way for last. So we're going to go to gemini.google.com and we're going to do Nano Banana. So we click this image here. We're going to go to add files and then upload files. And we'll put one of the photos of her there. So then we'll add a prompt. I'm just going to say change her outfit. So she's wearing a worn red hoodie. The background is a dreary dystopian Pacific Northwest. And then this is what we get from Nano Banana. I know I can do a lot with the prompting on this, but I just don't think that Nano Banana is the right tool for this. She looks a lot more artificial. She looks like an airbrush painting almost. Now we'll add some more things to the prompt to make sure that we're getting more of a film type of look. So let's see how this one turns out. It looks like The Last of Us, but it looks more like the video game version of The Last of Us. So it's not very realistic at all. Nano Banana is cool, but in this case, it's not what I'm looking for. Let's go over to ChatGPT. First, we'll try the same exact thing where we just upload an image of her and we'll give her that same exact prompt. Let's see how this works. All right, and this is the ChatGPT version. I think that's maybe better, but still it looks very fake. Like there's this weird grain that they put on it. At least in small form, it looks a little less fake. It looks very similar to her. So these image editing tools aren't necessarily going to get us the look that we want. All right, and if you follow my channel, you may guess where I am going with this. So let's try this in Vidu. So Vidu is a tool that I've used to put myself in public domain movies, and I also use it to put myself in my own tutorials with characters from my movies. So for instance, here's a clip of a character from one of my movies, and here is a clip of me with that character. So this is Vidu. There is a link in the description for this. We are going to go to, let's do reference to image first. Right, so we're doing reference to image. Then we're going to click this button here that says references. And I'm doing it this way because I want to add multiple images of the character. So we're going to click this plus button here. And then we get 3 different options to choose from. So we can click each one of these, or we can just drag the files. So I'm just going to drag these here. I chose these because this is one on a plain background. This one shows a little bit more of her, and this is kind of a profile view. Change her name and call her Silly. So I'm going to paste the prompt there. I'll click the references button and choose her reference there. And then we'll say done. So it's going to take this reference and this prompt, and we'll just move this here to the beginning. And let's generate 4 images and see how this looks. Okay, so this is what we got. This doesn't look anything like the scene that we were trying to go for with The Last of Us. Now, one thing I tried to do was take this picture from The Last of Us and just say, remove the actors. And it says, I can't do that, sorry. So I'll just say, can you make an image of that background? Oh, we'll try this. It's Last of Us right there. Oh my God. Okay, I wanted to have the background. We're not going to be able to do that. So we're just going to drag this over here. And what I can do, so I've got this. I don't want to use them. So I'm going to click this button. And what I can do is just kind of like do something like this for that. And I'll drag this again. So that should give an idea of what this style looks like. I'm going to crop this again, and I'm just going to go like this, just to get this like red hoodie and the t-shirt down. So that's what we're looking for there. All right, so now we've got the image, we've got some of the background, and we've got the hoodie that we want. So hopefully we'll see her in the hoodie in a similar background to this. This is a lot closer, but it still feels a little bit off to me. It's much better than this. Obviously, this doesn't look like this is like before the zombie apocalypse, and now at least we're in closer to the zombie apocalypse of Last of Us. But I think we can do better. I've got my own little prompt sidekick here that's trained on a bunch of different models, and I've got a video about that if you want to check it out. So what I'm going to do is give it this image, and I'm going to say, I want this to look more like this. So I'm going to say, make the image of the solo woman in the hoodie match the cinematic style of the Last of Us screenshot. I want it as a Vidu prompt. Yeah, this is better. So I've taken that prompt and I've put in the different references in the prompt at the places where I want them to be. So let's try this. We're getting closer, right? So this was really off. This was a little too bright. We're getting closer. So I think the problem here is this image reference. Let's get rid of this one and get rid of this one. Move this one over here. And when I do this one, what I'm going to do is close up on her face a little bit more. One problem is she's always smiling in her photos, which doesn't make it easy. Let's see how this one turns out. All right, I think this is pretty good. So I think getting rid of all of the big smiley ones was helpful. So we've got one smiley one and one non-smiley one. Does it look like her? Let's see. I think there's a little bit something in the cheeks that's different. Let's switch over to Vidu's reference to video. I mentioned earlier that I have a favorite method. Well, Vidu's reference to video is my favorite method, at least for now. So since we generated this image of Tilly in the right environment, let's go back to Nano Banana and see if we can remove her from the background. And we can, because it's not copyrighted material. And now I can use this image that we've generated. I'm going to go back to my prompt sidekick in ChatGPT and just say, write a detailed Vidu prompt for a 2-shot like this one. And then I'll say, describe what Joel is wearing, but don't use character names, don't use IP names. Right, so these look kind of good. Like one thing, that's weird. So I think one thing that's funny is it found this watermark from Vio and it turns it into like a snowflake or a star falling. She's wearing the wrong thing, but this looks like me. That looks like her. I just realized I didn't reference any costume for her. So I'm just going to say wearing a red hoodie, and I'm going to use this red hoodie again. So we've got her and me in this scene. She's wearing this. I'm described in what I'm wearing in the prompt. Let's see how this turns out now. All right. So this is much better, right? This looks great. I even got some sweat there. Must be warm in the Pacific Northwest.
I feel like I did something wrong.
Okay, but you're probably wondering, how do we add dialogue to this? One thing we could do is take a frame like this and bring this into Vio or WAN and create an image from this where we would be talking.
So you use a screenshot as a start frame in Veo?
Exactly, you can upscale it if you want. I hate upscalers though.
So because I think the videos end up looking better, here's a little trick I like to do. So right now we're using 3 images here for her face. We're using 1 image here. That's like 4 images that it's got to kind of cobble together. I like this one. This one turned out pretty well, I think. That's pretty close. Even if you look at their pictures, she doesn't look quite the same necessarily. So since we've got her in this right cinematic lighting and in the right outfit, it looks like her, we can go to this button here that says capture frames to references. So we'll just click that button. And then we'll find the reference frame that we want by scrubbing this timeline here. And then we click this camera icon here. And it does a screenshot there. And we can say we can download that without watermark, or we can use it as a reference to video. I'm going to do both. So I'm going to download it. And then I'll click this magic wand icon to bring it over to reference to video. And now I've got this image of her here. So I can actually get rid of these. I can get rid of this one. Oops, I've added her twice. And then I can crop it a little bit too. If I just want to have her, I can do this again. And that way we'll just be focused on her. her. And now we've just got one image of a character, so it doesn't have to try and piece together the different faces. And then I'll do the same for myself, and that way we can just have the same characters the whole time. Now we just have the 3 images. So now we just have our characters, and then we have this image. So what we can do from here is take these characters, pick different images, and now all we're doing is changing the image and the prompt for each one. So we covered a lot. There are a lot of steps, but at the same time, I think this shows that AI video is actually hard to do. I think that companies really oversell how easy it is. Like, just type this in and you get this. And sometimes that's true, but when you go to use it and you have something specific in mind, it's actually really hard to get the results that you want. So you can make a figurine of yourself on a desk and that looks great. Or you can have a box exploding and furnishing a room. But when you're trying to do something more cinematic, more storytelling, it gets really difficult. All right, thanks for watching. I've got a lot of movies and tutorials and workflows, and I've got a newsletter where I talk about a lot of this stuff a little bit more, and I'll send you the same ChatGPT prompt sidekick that I use. Thank you for watching, and here's me and Tilly in The Last of Us.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Tilly, I'm trying to save you. And I'd do it again.